You feel like you're doing everything right, but you're still struggling to lose weight, keep the results, and feel amazing in your skin. There are three habits that you're currently doing that could be sabotaging your progress. So, if you've been working really hard, you know how frustrating it is. You see the other people around you just easily getting results. It makes you feel like you're broken, makes you feel like what's wrong with you because you could do literally the exact same thing and not see any of the results that they're getting. So, why is that? First of all, before we dive in, everybody is different. So anything that I say, anything that other people are doing or tell you that they're doing, make sure that you customize it to you, what works for you, because at the end of the day, you're the one that matters and we are not all the same. However, in my experience, there are typically three culprits that are sabotaging your hormones and ultimately your results. Number one, skipping breakfast. Number two, going too hard on your cardio. And number three, being super stressed out, but still depending on caffeine. We're going to dive a little bit more into each of these today and what to do instead. However, the common theme with all three of these is that you are working against your body. And when we're working against our body, we are increasing our cortisol. And when our cortisol is increased, it makes it harder for us to lose weight or keep progress or feel good in our skin. And when one of our hormones, whether it is cortisol or another hormone, is out of whack, that means our other hormones are compensating, adjusting, and trying to make up for whatever's going on with that original hormone, meaning everything all of a sudden is out of whack. With these big three culprits that I noticed, let's dive into what you can do instead, or how you can kind of adjust it so it makes sense for you. Again, remember, these are just ideas. Take what you want, make it your own because you are the boss of your body. You are the professional. So make sure that you are listening to your body and customizing these for yourself. Number one, skipping breakfast. I know I actually love breakfast food, but I'm not like a huge breakfast person of eating first thing in the morning, especially because I like to work out first thing in the morning. And so having something and then having to wait for it to digest and then get my workout in, it seems like a lot of waste of time. So a lot of people do fasted workouts in the morning. I want to say, especially if you are a woman with hormonal symptoms, that has got to end here. If you are somebody who is maybe not a breakfast person, what can you do instead? The biggest thing is I want you to focus on having something small, something with protein and potentially a little bit of carbs. This is going to help make sure that your cortisol is in check throughout the whole day. You're not really spiking it up super fast by heading to your coffee first or going a long time between meals where your body's kind of like running on fumes and trying to figure out what you're doing. This also prevents cravings later in the day, that energy crash after lunch. All of that is really tied to what you do first thing in the morning. So my recommendation, if you are not a breakfast person, you literally are like getting up, you need to grab something quick and head out the door. Can you grab a protein shake? Can you have hard-boiled eggs or egg bites on the go? Are there just these little bites that you can have that aren't going to make you feel super, super full and heavy, but you're still breaking your fast first thing in the morning to get you going? If you're like me and you work out first thing in the morning, I would also recommend really focusing on the carb because that is going to be your energy source for your workout. So for me personally, something I focus on is having like a hard-boiled egg and then like an applesauce squeeze pack or a string cheese and half a banana. Something like that just to get going. Make sure that you're not crashing your energy, spiking your cortisol in your workouts. Speaking of workouts, that's a nice segue into number two, which is going too hard on your cardio. It is totally common for people to go hard on their cardio, especially if they're wanting to lose weight. Again, I do not recommend this because it is spiking your cortisol, especially depending in what phase of your cycle you are in. When we are in our follicular and ovulatory phase, we can process cortisol a little bit easier than when we are in our luteal phase or during our period. Then we are more susceptible to cortisol, like feeling like we're super drained. We're just very sensitive to it in that second half of our cycle. When we are talking about cardio, your body might respond really well to cardio in the first half of your cycle. You can push it, you can do the HIIT, you can sprints, whatever your form of cardio is, it probably feels really, really good during your follicular phase and your ovulatory phase. When you get into luteal and your menstruation phase, this is the perfect time to kind of start focusing on cardio as more of like a maintenance cardio. So me, I am a runner. When I run in my follicular phase, I am just like, pace is great. I feel great. I could go for miles. I feel just everything's amazing. I'm recovering well. But as soon as I hit my late luteal phase, especially the late luteal phase, my energy starts taking a dip because my hormones are also taking that dip. So during this time, I really just focus on maintenance runs. So the pace is a little bit slower. I'm not going as many miles. I'm not trying to do HIIT workouts or speed workouts. I'm not really trying to bring my heart rate up. I'm focused on more of that like zone 2 type workout where it feels good for my body and I'm able to recover better. Instead of just thinking that you can push through the same level of intensity every single day of every single week of your cycle, really think about it as matching your energy and your workouts. If you have lower energy, if you're feeling more sluggish, if you're struggling to recover, that's a good time to focus on either taking a couple days off or more of that maintenance type workout. As you guys know, I am a fan of cycle syncing. However, you have to redefine it for yourself because I also don't believe if you are a runner or a lifter, in classic cycle syncing, it tells you the second half of your cycle, you can't do those things. You just need to focus on yoga and walking. I believe that if you have goals that involve running or lifting or whatever your goals are, you should be able to do them throughout the entire month. Just changing them a little bit to read your energy, to match where your hormones are, instead of pushing, spiking the cortisol, and ultimately making it harder for you to lose weight or see results or feel just amazing because you're so drained. And number 3, when you are super stressed, but you are running on caffeine all day, that is a problem. That is spiking your cortisol. That is doing the opposite of what you want to do. So when our cortisol is higher, it does build out from our midsection, which will give us that kind of tire look around that midsection, that fluffiness around that midsection. When we have that stress there, and you're trying to lose weight, it is going to be very hard to budge your midsection. When you are depending on caffeine, it is going to spike your cortisol as well. And I get it because I love caffeine. There are a couple ways that you can still enjoy your caffeine while not getting the cortisol spike. The first way is really think about your caffeine cutoff time. Just like with the cardio, when you are in your earlier days of your cycle, so the follicular phase and your ovulatory phase, stress is easier for you to manage. So caffeine will also be easier for you to manage. You probably have a higher tolerance for caffeine, for how long you can have caffeine, for how it impacts you. But as you get into your luteal phase and your menstruation phases, your cortisol is higher, it's harder to manage, you're just more susceptible to higher stress, and you are going to be more sensitive to caffeine. So instead of having all of the caffeine ever, I'm not saying cut it out completely. Don't worry. I'm not going to take your coffee. That's one of the top things when people start working with me. They're like, please don't take my coffee. I'm not taking your coffee. Do not worry. But you should manage what that caffeine looks like. It will look different from one half of your cycle to the next half. That second half, what I would recommend is cutting off your caffeine a little bit earlier. So in the first half of your cycle, when you are high energy, when you're able to process cortisol a little bit easier, maybe you can have caffeine up until noon or 1 p.m., whatever that looks like for you. But then that second half of your cycle, as your hormones are decreasing and cortisol is harder for you to manage, that could be a good time where caffeine needs to be cut off by 10 a.m., for example. So really start like playing with this for yourself of when we should have the caffeine, when the cutoff is, when you feel best with the caffeine, etc. Also, if you are running on caffeine because you are super stressed, I want you to focus on balancing your blood sugar. I have a couple of trainings on balancing your blood sugar, but what this really looks like is you're going to eat frequently. And this does not matter what phase of the cycle you're in. Balancing your blood sugar is important throughout your entire cycle, throughout every single day, every single week. But what we want to do is really focus on eating every 3 to 4 hours to balance our blood sugar. Having a plate that's full of protein, fiber, a starchy carb, and a healthy fat for every single big meal that we can is going to help balance your blood sugar. Going back to habit number 1, skipping breakfast. Don't skip breakfast. That's going to help balance your blood sugar. So when we balance our blood sugar, our body is actually not going to have this cortisol spike that makes us feel terrible, especially by mid-afternoon, or leaving us wired and tired by the evening where you are so tired, but you just can't sleep. Balance your blood sugar. And saying that every 3 hours, you're not having a full meal. So making sure you have snacks to support your blood sugar. So you're not getting that hangry feeling, which is really just a blood sugar crash. And the last point with managing your stress and not depending on the caffeine is find mindful moments throughout the day. So that could be getting outside first thing in the morning, getting sun on your skin, sun in your eyes, resetting your circadian rhythm. That could be at the end of your day, doing legs up the wall for 10 minutes while you're not listening to anything, you're just focused on breathing. That could be middle of the day, you're taking a walk, like a hot girl walk, get outside, even sitting outside or listening to your favorite song that really makes you feel like upbeat and happy or calm. Having these little mindful moments will help balance out the cortisol spikes, will make you feel energy throughout the day and manage that stress so that you aren't getting that midsection weight gain, that you're able to see progress with all the hard work that you're putting in towards losing weight and feeling better in your skin. Which of these habits surprises you the most? And what would you add to these habits? Or even what questions do you have about something you're currently doing that you're wondering if it's serving you and your goals? Drop them in the comments. I want to hear from you. And that is all I have for you today on Hormone Happy Hour. I will talk to you next time. Cheers.